For more great content, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell.
Hey everyone, Tyler Fionn Fire Erzberger here with Showstopper, your one source for all Valorant news, coverage, and hijinks. Today we have a very special episode. Yinsu, sadly, in Europe at Champions, hosting the entire thing. Ryan Central also at Champions, doing analyst work on the desk. So very happy for, two of our friends there. But the show must go on. We must preview this Champions tournament. We need to go through the 10 burning questions that we have before the tournament kicks off in just a couple of hours. So I brought in two of my close friends, Danny Appleford of Upcomer, and Vansilli, the kind of the demigod of the Church of KO, the Archduke. I don't know what you call it, the head of the Church of KO, just kind of leading just the charge. He's actually kind of relevant though, so you're actually going to be able to talk about him in this tournament, so that's good.
Try to be, yeah, for sure. KO is going to continue to be awesome, so I'm looking forward to it. And thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, unfortunately, you have Yinsu that can't make it, she's in Berlin. Yeah. Ryan Central can't make it, is in Berlin. I'm not in Berlin, but I also split the Yinsu Asian and the Ryan Central analyst, so I fuse both of them together. So I'm here.
You fit the profile well.
And Danny comes in for our Zoomer demographic. He's bringing all those. He's here to talk about, the cool skins and, the cool sprays and bring that, young man Zoomer energy to the show. So,
oh yeah,
that's all Valorant needs right now is just all the Zoomers to come in and click heads. So,
we had to drag Danny on. He was very sad. 100 Thieves couldn't make it. The Zoomer crew could not make it. We had to ask him to take off his 100 Thieves jacket and cap before coming on the show. But it should be good. It'll be okay, Danny. It's okay. 100 Thieves will be back. Maybe not Nitro. Maybe not. Maybe not Steel.
Maybe he stays. What if the other rumor is that it's going to be a switch from CS to Valorant from Elige?
Well, that's definitely another episode on the table. But first, we're talking about the World Championship. We're talking about off-season news. The biggest tournament in Valorant history is about to be in just a couple of hours, and we have to go through 10 burning questions for you fellas. That we're going to go through all 10, our predictions, our hopes, our dreams, and we have to start off with kind of a macro question. I want to start with you, Vansilli.
Okay.
How do you feel about the format? I feel like the format is pretty much a copy-paste of Masters Berlin, except that quarterfinals are all on the same day this time, which means we're not going to have a 14-hour day, thankfully, to the observers and the crew over there in Berlin. But we have the GSL group stage where we'll have the double elimination there, but then we have a single elimination 8-team playoff bracket. Is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is it bad? Is it worthy of the first championship format?
So now that I think about it, and I had some time to think about it, I actually do like the format as a spectator for sure. I think as a player, it's a nice just medium, right? With the amount of days that you have currently planned for the event itself being 10 days, if I'm not mistaken, or 11 days. If you're going to go to double elimination into the playoffs, it's going to get to a longer day. You kind of need longer weeks. And I think also if you're going to spread them throughout more longer days or longer weeks, then overall it kind of it waters up the competition a little bit, right? It waters up the hype a bit. So I think that you have, again, the just medium where teams will still have a second chance if they lose their opening game in the GSL format. But once it gets into the playoffs, it's do or die. Hence the theme of the champions, die for you. And it's just going to add so much hype going into the playoffs. And I think overall, it's something that a lot of players and a lot of the fans in tactical FPS are used to anyways, if you're looking at the Counter-Strike scene, where, we have different formats here and there, but we were pretty used to the GSL going to single elimination anyways, when you have such a hefty schedule for a lot of these teams throughout the year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think where Champions kind of hits into the viewer part is I liked like Worlds, for example. Worlds was a month-long tournament. Nothing felt really rushed, and I know that there was a lot more games played with League of Legends, but here it feels like you're not cramming a bunch of games into one day. Like you said, the 14-hour, all day sort of show. That the players don't like it, the casters don't like it, the fans don't like it. It's like, oh, I wanted to watch this game, but it's oh god, it's 11 o'clock at night my time, and I don't really want to stay up and watch another game. So I think over the however long it is, I think it's like 11, 12 days, will be better overall for like people watching. I don't really know how the pros feel about it in terms of like how many eliminations there are and stuff like that, but I think breaking it up into like a group stage and then playoff like it was at Berlin is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. I think it's fine. It's fine. For as Vansilli said, it's an 11-day tournament. You can only do so much in 11 days. I would like to see Champions evolve into a month-long tournament like a Worlds, where you do have multiple cities, where you are going around North America or Japan and Tokyo, Taiwan, and you get to see, like, I want that feeling where you have at Worlds where it does feel like a journey. But I think for the first time, for our first event, 11 days, like I think 12 days, I think it's fine. So I think we're giving you like a half thumbs up, right, on your format. So
if it has to be like the League of Legends where it goes through a city tour, I think that's pretty damn awesome for sure. But I think if it's like crammed up to be like, oh, let's just do like a month long within 1 month in an arena, like studio to stage, not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I think that also kind of showed at this year's World Championship where they were in Iceland in the same studio for 30 days. I didn't think the games were awesome, but it didn't have the same impact because you are stuck in that similar studio.
Gets
no
diluted.
Fans, doesn't feel epic. I do think like, I think this format works perfectly in a single studio venue setting. If you want to make it more multi-city and make it more of like an adventure around a country or a region, I think a month-long tournament settles quite well. But we'll see. For the first time, we'll give you a half thumbs up. Right. Question number 2 in our burning questions. We'll start with you, Danny, on this one. Who is your player to watch at Champions? Pick one player that you will be watching with the close eye. I know your boy Hiko's not there, so you're not going to be able to say Hiko. But who are you picking?
I'm not even going in A. My player to watch is Nats. Actually, I think he had such an explosive Berlin, and obviously Gambit won. But he's so young and he's so talented that I think if he can replicate the amount of fire and just aggressiveness that he had at Berlin throughout Champions, I think it's going to be really cool to see. I mean, they're in a pretty easy group stage. I mean, they have, Team Vikings, they have Team Secret, they have Crazy Raccoon. It's not like you don't have Team Liquid and Sentinels, all in one group together. So I hope that they kind of stomp those 3 other teams to make it into playoffs. I think if they don't, just like clean sweep all 3 of them, it might be a little bit of a disappointment. But for Nats overall, I think he's my player to watch.
Yeah, I was going to go with Nats as well, but if we already talk about Nats, I could think about somebody else too. But I definitely do think that Nats will, how Sentinels had like a radar on them and everybody wanted to beat Sentinels going into Masters 3. I think now going to Champs, it's not only looking at a team, but looking at a specific player, and I think that's Nats. But I don't think that, I want to know how he's going to evolve with the tech around the swoop peak from Viper, which still exists. It just changed the mechanics a little bit. So how are teams going to study his play style there? How is he going to adapt now that everybody wants to know how Nats plays? But I think I'm going to go a little bit like off a tangent on who's the player to look out for me. I want to go into like a more supportive role. I like to say Crashies, but I think I'm going to think about another Silva, another initiator, and for me that's going to be Zeta of Cloud9. I think Zeta of Cloud9, ever since he played from Korea into the Cloud9 with 180 ping as a breach and gets an ace on bind, and then comes into NA and just dominates as a Silva, as we saw in LCQ. And also a very, very, very good breach on split as well. I think he's going to be the difference maker for a team like Cloud9 that's going to enable a player like Leaf to put up the numbers that we know that Leaf is able to put up. So the double support of Zeta and Zeppa, but Zeta is going to be my player, probably to be like the best support player that we have in this tournament.
I was actually thinking it was that as one of my picks, but I'm gonna say an A because you hear the rumblings, the scrim bucks, the players talking on stream, and the player that you're hearing a lot about in the last day or two is the player I'm picking is my player to watch, Zoms, because you're hearing the murmurs of like Zoms is playing the best he's ever played. He got 40 kills in the scrim versus a team that won trophies before. Like Zoms is locked in, and after Masters Berlin, where I think everyone was just kind of disappointed about how the anchors, or everyone but Tens on Sentinels played, but Zoms in particular on Dapper kind of weren't able to hold the line as the anchors of the team, which were one of the reasons why they just ran through Reykjavik, is that you could not get past the defensive line of Zoms and Dapper. And I want to see Zoms step up. I mean, Zoms has always had this kind of X factor to him to, he's always been like, oh, he's not the best mechanical player on Sentinels, but he always does the dirty work. He does the intangibles. He does the little things that makes them a championship team. But hearing the murmurs of that he's just playing out of his mind and that he's like locked in, I want to see that Zoms. If Zoms is carrying like a Tens, with his kind of trash talk and his swagger, I just want to see the evolution of Zoms, right? Where if Zoms has a big tournament, if Zoms can now I'm not saying drop 40 balls, but if Zoms can consistently drop 15, 17 kills, be that back line that the team needs, anchor these sites, and just hold on and trade off on kills, I think Sentinels are going to look very much closer to Reykjavik than they did at the last tournament. So Zoms is my pick for player to watch.
That's a good one. I think that's a good one as well. I think Zoms is, even for me, when he's not fragging as much, the utility he puts out as Astra is like so good for Sentinels to enable the rest of his team. So even like he's a selfless player. He's the one that's going to be dropping the rifle for his teammates, and he buys a Spectre and still uses that like a Phantom pretty much into long range sights. So I think it's definitely a good pick going into that one too.
Burning question number 3, fellas. Which team or player is under the most pressure to perform at Champions? We're going to start with you, Danny.
Yay! Speaking on Zoms and all this stuff, I think it's Sentinels. Sentinels. They kind of, we kind of heard that talk again of like, oh, Berlin wasn't that big of a deal in the eyes of Sentinels because they had already qualified for Champions. It was just kind of going to be another, notch in their belt, another trophy on their case. But I think we were so used to seeing them, win Masters 1, win Masters 2, and then they just kind of burnt out at the end of Masters 3. It's like, I think to truly say, okay, NA is still at that top echelon of play, I think we need Zoms and all of Sentinels now, especially with Raucus as the coach, to step up again and be like, oh no, Berlin, we were lax, it's fine, but we're still the number 1 team. We're here to shove Gambit into the ground, and we're ready to take back our spot.
I'll have to agree with that. It has to be Sentinels, and I think we're looking at team or player. I mean, it's just as much Sentinels it is for Tens, it is for Raucus. There's nothing but like burning questions looking at this Sentinels roster going into Champions. Just to be like, you look at the interview from Berlin where Dapper was like, yeah, man, we showed signs of weakness. We're behind the meta. We have things to work on rather. And now it's a time to prove it, right? It's do or die going onto the stage. And everybody's going to give a lot of heat for Tens just on that single map, a split, which you shouldn't, general public. But, Tens in his interview with Naturals was saying, with Riot, was saying how he's been on a private server practicing text and whatnot. Maybe it's Jet, maybe it's Raze too, but overall he does have that pressure to want to perform well for his team and the team overall to just continue to try to make that era of the Sentinels in Valorant.
Yeah, I actually, I made these questions. I'm going to cheat on my own questionnaire. So I'm not picking a player or a team. I'm picking a region. I think the region under the most pressure is Brazil. I think Brazil needs to step up. You have 3 seeds. You know how many match wins do you think Brazil's had in the first 2 Masters? Your money probably like, they've had 4 or 5 maybe. They've
overall?
had 2. They've had 2 overall victories. Sharks, they've had 2 overall victories. Vikings beat X10, and then Vivo Keyed beat Zeta Division. Those are the 2 Brazilian wins. Everything else, they've lost the series. And they have 3 seeds. They have more seeds at Champions than they have official match wins at Masters. That is ridiculous. And you're hearing the murmurs of like, oh, Vivo Keed actually looks really good in scrims. Like they're like of Mzera coming in, and like Brazil's getting a bit more hype. But for me, I need to see it. I need to see Brazil actually show us something, because NA and Europe, along with, the one Korean team that always shows up, have been doing really well. Crew has been consistent. Brazil 6 months ago was supposed to be up there with NA and EMEA, and now it's a joke if you compare the two. If you compare those three regions, Brazil is just lagging, not miles behind. They're lagging centuries behind in some cases, and the talent's there. The player base is there. The fandom is there. It's not like it's a dying region. There's fans. There's people watching. There's people playing. But the results just haven't been there. So for me, the region that it's not a team or a player. It's a region. Because if Brazil comes here and all three teams go out in the group stage, there is zero reason why they should have 3 seats next year. There is zero reason. It would be just asinine. It would make no sense if they had 3 seeds. So for Brazil to really, I don't think Brazil has to win. I don't even think like a Vivo Keed has to make the finals. But we do need to see a Vivo Keed or a Vikings or a Furia make top 8 at least, and a top 4 finish would be very important for that region. So for me, I'm looking at Brazil, and if they can get one team to quarters and in a miracle get a team to top 4, I think that brings a lot of excitement back to a region that's really lost a lot of its luster over the last few months.
Yeah, it's tough too, right? Yeah, I think we're going to look at the groups later on when we're going to do predictions, I think. But even when you're looking at the 3 teams that are going through, like Furia has a very tough group. Vivo Keed has a very tough group. And then for me, what looks to potentially be maybe the weakest of the 3 teams, or it could be like, pretty close between Furia and Vikings, but Vikings has somewhat of an easier pathing, but they also kind of like bombed out in Reykjavik too. So, I mean, it got 6th place, but it wasn't a result that you're expecting, right? They went through a run that was still an easy bracket of like 10 teams going through or whatnot. So I think there's going to be even more pressure onto Vikings because they have the quote unquote easiest path to get out of their group.
I'll kick it off for number 4 in our questionnaire. Who is the best player at Champions? And I'm just going to make this simple and easy. It's Jet. El Diablo. El Diablo is the best all-around Jet player in the world right now. Yeah. If you want to talk about best duelist, best player, again, that opens the door for Tens, that opens the door for Nats, that opens the door for a lot of different players. But when we're talking about purely Jet, I'm going to take EA over everyone else going to this tournament of, every team has an all-star Jet, but I think the king of Jets right now is Jay.
I agree. I can't disagree any more than that. I mean, if you look at maybe like top 3, top 4 Jets in there, so it's like Yay, Tens, Scream, Heat, Leaf, and when you're like, it's all really, really good names. But if you're looking at all of that, you're probably still going to give it to Yay over all of them.
Best all around. He's the best all around, right? Where Leaf is maybe the best rifling, a Jet, and you can say maybe CNED's the best opping Jet, but I think Yay brings the best of opping and rifling, and just kind of, he can play Jet in so many different styles, right? I just think he's the king of Jets right now. Danny, do you have anyone else?
Does it all.
No, I was really going to say Scream, because I knew you were going to say Yay, because like you both said, I mean, Yay he's El Diablo. He literally, if that guy's on the map playing Jet, it doesn't matter if he's rifling or opping or what position he's in, he's going to click your head and you're going to die. But I think the same thing could be said, like you said, for a CNET or a Scream. I'll pick Scream personally. I think the whole LCQ thing really kind of boosted him back into a position of being one of the top players, especially in EMEA. So I hope that we see them perform a little bit better than we did at Reykjavik. So we'll see. But my vote will be Scream, just to be a little different.
That's fair. Yeah, I'll give a little shout out to CNET. I think CNET also maybe getting I think he's getting less buzz around this time just because of how all of the buzz around Team Liquid, just because of Battlegrounds and how well they did at LCQ. But I think CNET's still a monster. I think CNET
that's still good. That's no pressure on him.
Oh, that's really good. It's amazing for Ascend. I think no one's really talking about Ascend going into this tournament. Exactly. I think they could definitely make a run to the finals, especially with Bone Cold now getting that experience he needs after a pretty weak IGL performance in Berlin. I think Ascend is going to turn a lot of heads. But moving on to question number 5. Which possible group stage matchup are you most excited to see? Which group stage matchup do you want to see? We'll start with Danny.
Possible group stage.
Yeah, could be an opening group stage match, but something that it's possible or going to happen. Like it could be an opening group stage match, or it could be the winners final. What do you want to see?
Does Group A and B and then C and D play together? Like the first and second? Is that how it goes?
The winner, we're talking about like, so, for example, it'd be like Team Liquid versus Sentinels in their group final, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'd like to see Ascend versus Envy.
Oh, yeah.
Because Envy, I mean, did really well at Berlin. Not so well against Gambit in the final, but they did really well in Berlin overall. And I also think, to their credit, Ascent also did really well despite, losing to 100 Thieves. So I think those two could be a really close matchup, or at least I think they are. I think they're pretty evenly matched overall as a team.
Yeah.
So I think, that would be a match.
I would love to see FNS versus Bone Cold, right? Where I think the edge there, Danny, I think that we can say the edge between Envy and Ascend is that FNS has so much experience IGLing and being a leader, where Bone Cold's still learning, and I think it's like that's the final piece to turn Ascend into that championship team. So I think it'd be a great matchup just because we would see Bone Cold trying to catch up to a master of IGLing like FNS, who's had so much success in Counter-Strike, moving over to Valorant. I'll also go really fast for my group stage matchup because it's the opening matchup. It's on the opening day. Fnatic versus C9. I just really want it, but it's another IGL matchup for the the big brains out there. Vandy versus Boaster. The two of them have been very open on this show about how much they respect each other, how much they like each other. They're both great trash talkers. They're both great entertainers. I think Fnatic's maybe getting a bit underrated going to the tournament. I don't think Fnatic's going to win the entire thing, but I think people rating Fnatic like below some of these other teams, like some of the minor region teams, is kind of silly. I still think overall Fnatic's going to show a lot better results and a lot better performance on the main stage than they showed at Battleground. So I'm excited to see C9 Blue versus Fnatic. C9 Blue should win that series, but Fnatic is a very talented team. I think Durka still is one of the better duelists at Champions. I think people forget how amazing he was at Reykjavik, and I think mechanically he hasn't lost a step. So I think that's my matchup: C9 Blue versus Fnatic. Vansilli, what's yours?
Yeah, I think that's a very good one too. I was gonna edge towards that one as well because Fnatic is on a downward slope. But we want to know, like, with all this uncertainty, having not seen them for like 3 months or 2 months rather, what are they going to look like coming into Champions? And then C9 Blue winning LCQ, I was like, oh my god, the stonks are pretty high. KO stonks are pretty high too. But it's like, okay, they're now at the international stage where they're going against a team that is very, very strong in the past from like Reykjavik or whatnot. If that form comes back, can C9 Blue beat that? And I think that's the biggest question mark. But I probably have to go with the standard one. I think it's a safe pick to look at the Liquid and Sentinels as that matchup, right? So Liquid hasn't lost since Navera came in. Sentinels, again, we talked about how they have a lot of weight on their shoulders, and this matchup is like, for me, like Liquid could be a team that could win it all versus Sentinels that wants to reclaim that top seed and maintain that top seed right after. They're going to go like strat books up to like page 25 of 27 of their strat book to make sure that they win. So I think this is going to be really, really, really fun to watch. If there's no upsets.
Yeah, no upsets. I mean, there's gonna. I feel like this tournament we're gonna see some upsets. It does seem like maybe Southeast Asia and Brazil haven't caught up to the West plus Vision Strikers yet, but I do feel like it's getting a bit closer. The gap is closing a little bit, which leads us perfectly to question number 6. Who is your dark horse team? Who is the team that you think that can make a dark horse run? Meaning dark horse team, meaning non-NA, non-EMEA, non-Vision Strikers. So basically, no Korea, no NA, no Europe. The other 8 teams in the tournament, who are you picking of those 8 teams to make kind of a magical run through the bracket? Ooh. If you had to pick one, Vansilli, we'll start with you.
If I have to pick one. Okay, if I have to pick one, I think it'll probably have to be Crew. I think Crew is probably the best one out there because when we looked at their performances in Reykjavik, I think that's when we saw some very good pistol rounds, I think, against Fnatic, where they destroyed them on pistols. But anything outside of that, in terms of like gameplay comp, they were trying to follow the meta, and it kind of like fell very, very short. But then you get to Berlin, where they lost to G2, who were a very, very hot G2, actually placing like 3rd and 4th in Berlin. And also losing to Envy, who ended up being 2nd in Berlin. So it's like they didn't have that much of an easy run. It wasn't easy for them to get through, but I think they definitely have like a very strong roster in there. Where can they upset? Maybe they're in the group with Sentinels, right? Sentinels and Liquid. Yeah, maybe they won't make it out of group, but I think they can still put up a good fight. I think at least like take a map or something like that off Liquid or Sentinels. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think for me, it has to be Team Secret, just solely based off of the fact that they're in such a good spot with their group. I think they could easily beat Team Vikings or a Crazy Raccoon, but also just because we didn't get to see them perform at Berlin due to being unable to attend. That I think no one really knows what they're going to bring to the table because we didn't get to see them perform on the international stage on a LAN, so I think they have the possibility to kind of come in and take, Team Vikings and Crazy Raccoon by surprise. Do I think they're going to beat Gambit? No. Would that be quite the series if they did? I think so. But I think they have, out of their group, I think they have the best chance at making it 2nd behind Gambit. So I really think Team Secret is the dark horse team.
You could say they're a bit of a secret to the rest of the competition.
Yeah, they're a secret. There you go. You were...
I wasn't ready. I made the question just so I can make that pun.
No, God.
So I was going to say Team Secret just because I wanted to make that pun, but going elsewhere, I'll buy into a bit of the Scrimbucks. I'll buy into some of the bit of the hype, and I'll say VivoKid. I think VivoKid, again, they are in a very tough position with X10. I think X10 should be good. I think kind of the not secret of Patapon switching back to Overwatch is kind of, it's hard to pick them when your star player is already looking at leaving the game after the tournament. So I can't really put much stock into X10. But I think VivoKid, I think Heat is, when you have a player who could be the best player on any given map, it gives you a chance. It doesn't matter how behind you are in strategy. It doesn't matter, how meta the rest of the team is. If you have that one player who could be the best player on the court, on the field of battle, that gives you the opportunity to win a game. And I think he gives you that opportunity every time he plays. Mariz as well. And then you put the raw power of VivoKid is up there with some of the best teams in the tournament. It's just, can they put it all together? I don't think they have everything together to, make a finals or win it all. But I definitely think they have the talent and they have the X factor where they could definitely upset an Ascend or, an Envy and really kind of murky these waters and kind of escape a very difficult group and kind of be that wild card in the playoffs. Yeah. So I'm going to go with VivoKid.
Yeah, definitely excited to see MW0. Playing a Sova, not playing a duelist. How is he going to help out the team?
And they can switch it around too, right? Where they can definitely surprise people. Where he could they have 3 really good duelists where they can switch around. We know he'll play Jet. We know Heat will play Jet because Heat is Jet. Jet is Heat. He's never played any other agent, so he'll play that. But Mariz and MW0 can really kind of they could have some aces up their sleeve. They can have some tricks up their sleeve, which I'm be very excited about. Let's talk about Jet. Going to burning question number 7. Jet obviously will define the tournament. I mean, she's broken. She's a dumbass champion. She's the worst. So I don't know. Every team literally has a star Jet on them. It's kind of required. We saw Hava and Liberty try to play without Jet, and we saw how they did at Berlin. So Jet's going to define the tournament. But outside of Jet, Vansilli, which agent do you think will be a major player or will define Champions 2021?
Okay, so I know I've put up my KO stonks, right? But hold on. There's different things. I could go with Silva because Silva, we've been looking at teams trying to play without Silvas on Haven still, and it still baffles me in that sense that they're trying to go Silva-less. And I still think that Silva is an important agent, but it's too much of an easy pick. And it's time to bring up the stonks of Breach. I think that KO, yes, is going to be played by some players and played very well, such as Zeppa, for example, and it'll look good for Cloud9. But we've also seen the 100 Thieves when he did that in Berlin when Steel was using KO. When it got down to like the final matches, they went back to like a regular Killjoy comp, right? So it's not like a do or die with like KO having to go in there. But I feel that there's a lot of teams that are going to be, or some teams rather, that will be able to pull out a breach that could bring some player like that could turn some heads. It'll baffle some teams that are not prepared to play against a breach, because it's been a while since we played against a breach for certain regions. So I think it'll be a nice off pick for some of the teams, especially on maps like Fracture 2 that's now in a rotation. So yeah, keep an eye out for breaches in my eyes.
No, I think I'm going to say breach too. I think breach could be a really good pick. I think he has a lot of good utility that if you use it the right way on any map can be really beneficial. You know, he has his clear with his, Aftershock and stuff like that. And his blinds are really good too. And I think his ult for either getting people off of a site or entering onto a site is just so easy to it's like, oh, we need to get onto B. Well, let me just breach ult and clear literally everyone off and everyone just jump in and click heads and then we can get a free plant. So I think breach.
Yeah, I think breach was also kind of. I think that's
What,
the
you guys
fun
are all
answer.
agreeing with me?
No, I'm not saying breach. I'm gonna go with KO. Really? I'm gonna say KO. I'm gonna say KO.
Okay, good.
I watched my man, my hero. I mean, Danny's hero. He has a steel poster in the back of his room with 100 Thieves up there. He was like, the Church of KO, and I definitely think with the Sky's priority, Sky's still broken. Sky's still, ineligible.
Yeah.
She's not as broken going in like Berlin. She was the agent to watch, in my opinion. Now, been a bit, pulled back a bit. I think it's allowed KO to kind of, move into that secondary duelist role where we do see now teams can play, a KO, a Sage, a Sky, those secondary duelists. I do think Breach is, very, for a Zeta or a Vision Strikers or some of these other teams, very integral to how they do these quick executes and just is the perfect supportive aggressive agent. But for me, I think KO will have an impact. We've seen it through some of these teams. I don't think it's going to become like a meta pick. It's not going to be ever. So we're going to become a Sova or a Jet or a Sky at her most broken. But I do think we're going to see some key maps where the KO does come out for some of these teams. It is that X factor. And I think, we're going to see Vansilli be tweeting and be like, I told you. I told you. I told you, Sideshow. I told you.
Oh, yeah.
You laughed at me, but now I am the king. So I do think KO is going to show up at Champions. Jet's going to define the tournament, and I think Breach is a good pick. But I'm going to go with KO, just to be a bit spicy. Let's move on to
sorry, I was just going to say real quick. I just feel like Sideshow finally understood how my takes aren't too hot when he actually decided to pick Cloud9 winning LCQ like me. Look who won LCQ. I mean,
that's true.
I'm not too far off, everyone.
Cena has a big brain team. I mean, they have the KO, they have the Breach. They're a very well versatile team. Cena and Blue is a team I'm very keen to watch, as we've talked about, as such in this episode. Let's move on to number 8, and maybe this is another C9 Blue answer here. Danny, of all the IGLs, of all the captains, of all the leaders that are be coming into Champions, who's your number one? Who's coming into this tournament as the best IGL?
I think despite what other people might think overall as a team, they're not going to do well. I think it's going to be Boaster. We saw, at Reykjavik, he just has this magnetic personality where no matter what kind of situation you're in, this guy's like hyping people up. He's getting people engaged in the game, and there's no bad vibes around the team. So I think if Boaster can keep his team together, keep them on lock, keep them, doing what they do best, I think he has the ability to pull them out of situations that may not be favorable for Fnatic, and especially at a point now where we haven't seen them perform in so long, and especially internationally, I think someone like Boaster just being able to be the glue for a team is more important than like maybe a Shazam that's, he's the one that's doing all the calling and stuff like that. I think more of a glue instead of a shot caller will be more beneficial for this tournament.
That's a good pick. I have a feeling, Tyler, you're gonna take Vanity. So I'm gonna spread it out and of course say Shazam. I think at this point, Shazam going to Champions, I think is going to be able to lead Sentinels into potentially another victory here at Champions. Only reason being as well is it took them a little bit of time. When they first came together into Valorant to start getting some victories. And when they did, though, and they missed out, I think, through one of the challengers, if not mistaken, like they got knocked out at some point and they came back. And when they came back, they just never stopped losing. And I think once you taste defeat, like they did back then, and it's like, okay, we could come back stronger. I think that Sentinels is definitely the team that's able to do that with the amount of work that Shazam, especially now again, they haven't played since Berlin, and there was a good amount of time for them to prep up for this Champions event. I'm looking forward to like brand new comps, brand new play styles, brand new trades, what we know Sentinels for.
So yeah, you said I was gonna pick Vanity, and I'm sorry, buddy. I love you, Vanity, but I wasn't gonna pick you. I guess you're just not gonna. I guess you're just gonna no Vanity love on the cast. I guess. My pick was actually Redgar of Gambit. I think.
Oh yeah. After
talking to Redgar and interviewing him, just kind of getting his whole. Just his personality. He's such a warm guy. He might be the nicest person I've ever. I have probably interviewed over 1,000 players in my esports career, over a decade at this point. And Redgar might just be the most wholesome person I've ever talked to. He has such a delightful attitude that just kind of bleeds through everything he says. He's such a kind, warm soul, and you might be able to point out better IGLs in terms of mechanics, maybe in terms of even shot calling or experience. But Redgar's personality, just how he kind of, it's the opposite of when you think of Gambit, when you think of this like Russian team, you think of like cold-blooded, you think of like these like very, these ice cold killers, these Terminators, and it's the opposite. They're like, everyone loves them. If you talk to any player who's ever met any of the Gambit players, they're the nicest, kindest people you'll ever meet. And it all starts with Redgar, where Redgar is just a very friendly guy. And I think it really shows, going back to Haven versus Envy in the Berlin finals, they should have not won that series, that map. Envy 99 out of 100 times win that map just because they're that damn good at Haven, and Gambit doesn't play it. But Redgar came in and said, let's just have fun. We're just gonna pug it. We're just gonna pug it, and they pugged it and they won, and they just ran through Envy
easily.
And that was Ye playing like God mode too, where he won rounds out of his ass, and they still won because Redgar is the kind of guy, the kind of leader who's like, okay, guys, let's just have fun. And when they have fun, Gambit's maybe the scariest they are. When they have no rules, not tying them down, and they play loose and they play, the exact opposite style of what they're known for, they're even scarier sometimes. So I really respect Redgar and how he's able to kind of breathe, like from top to bottom, just kind of have this very kind, warm, it's okay if we lose, guys, let's just have fun. And I think it just bleeds throughout the entire team. So he's coming in as champion. I'm going to take Redgar as my number one.
That's a good pick.
We finally all had different answers.
Yes. Right? Sorry, Vanity.
Honorary IGL.
Yeah, honorary. Number 9, 2 left to go. Let's start with Danny on this one. Which region, Danny, would benefit most from winning champions? Which region, not team, but which region from NA, EMEA, Latin America, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, SEA, which of those 7 regions would have the biggest boost, which would mean the most if they could win 2021 champions and kind of change the trajectory of their region?
I think it's got to be Korea because, they come into this tournament, they only have one seed and it's Vision Strikers, and there was so much talk in the earlier days of VCT around Vision Strikers and this, this crazy team that was on the, longest winning streak ever. And for them to be the only ones from their region attending champions, while you have Brazil, which is, like you said, had 2 wins combined.
Yeah, 2 match wins, baby.
Yeah, 2 match wins, and they have 3 seeds, and none of them are expected to do well. And you have Vision Strikers, which I feel like, some people have, okay stakes in or, hopes for. I think if they were to completely turn it around and win champions, I think it would put a lot more stock in Korea for Valorant in general. I mean, you have in League of Legends, Korea, China, they're, the biggest regions. They, win all the time. but in Valorant, that's not really the case. It's kind of just been the EMEA NA show for so long that I want to see another region that's not EMEA or NA win a lot. And we've seen, Sentinels won Reykjavik, Gambit won Berlin. I think to just keep the story alive and to keep a region that's not those two maybe uplifted a little bit, I think Korea would benefit the most, especially just for the fact that they would surely get another seed at Champions next year, if that, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. And the player base, right? Like the player base could double, triple, quadruple. Like if you have that champion team that you have, like you're a 14-year-old Korean kid, and you see like, oh my God, Vision Strikers won the world championship in Valorant. Look at how cool they look, and the big trophy and the money and all that. That could spur a lot of interest in the scene. That we know there's players out there who would play Valorant and would love Valorant in Korea. It's just can you market to them? And I think a Vision Strikers win could definitely market to those players. So I think Korea's a great pick. Vansilli, what's yours?
Yeah, the only hard thing for me to not pick Korea is because upon looking at there's like a skill gap right now between Vision Strikers and everybody else in Korea right now in terms of player base. Because of exactly that, I think everybody's currently still playing League of Legends, and it's like a super fun game and really popular in South Korea, where I think not building up the fan base in Korea or player base, you'd still have a good team within Vision Strikers. So the fan base is going to be there, but not having the player base is maybe not too bad for me. And then the same thing for Brazil is maybe they don't win anything, but the fan base and player base out there is freaking huge. Yeah. You look at the support that they have for CSGO and for Rainbow Six, just tactical shooters in general is the mecca for me in terms of fan base when you're looking at that. Look at goals, look at everybody that's currently doing co-streaming in Brazil. They're hitting immense numbers. So I think they're good there. I'd probably like to see Southeast Asia or Japan benefit from a victory. Japan, because tactical FPSs are sort of there. I think I remember Nora Rengo from Rainbow Six a couple of years back. But outside of that, everybody's still, for me, under the arcade fight stick community era genre, where I'd like to see maybe some FPS coming out of that, because even then you see the fan base from Crazy Raccoon is actually quite nice. And to see that the fan base is going to build even more out of that, and potentially trying to see if we can get more player base in Japan. Because right now, for Crazy Raccoon, it's 3 Japanese players and 3 Korean players. So they still don't have enough players in Japan to actually make a full Japanese strong team. Unfortunately, for Zeta Division, they're no more, right? So you have to dig a little bit deeper in your pockets to find good players in Japan for that. And I think it's the same for Southeast Asia. I think just seeing the prize pool that you can make in at Champions for these regions, man, it's life-changing compared to what it's going to be if EU or North America wins it, right? It's pennies for these guys almost at some point. But for Southeast Asia, it's they're kings and queens and role models. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's just going to grow the interest of the esport overall for Valorant in that region. And you know how many people are out there, so that's going to increase that fan base too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys. I think South Korea definitely would raise the player base. For Southeast Asia or Japan would really be life-changing money for those regions. And Brazil as well would really give them some reputation and pride. And that's why my answer for this there can only be one answer: is it's North America, baby. It's always been NA, and it will always be North America. You guys are fools. North America would benefit the most from this shit. You might years I've watched League of Legends World Championships and watching NA lose over and over and over and over and over. I've been to Taiwan, Japan, Korea. I've been to Europe. I've been to everywhere in the world to watch NA lose at League of Legends World Championships, and this is the one tournament where I have actual hopes and dreams. So you are not taking that away from me. I don't care if it's Sentinels, I don't care if it's Envy, I don't care if it's Cloud9 fucking Blue. One of those NA teams better bring home the trophy. I'll be very upset, because it just takes one. It takes one tournament. It takes one bad tournament from NA, and then the reputation starts, and everyone laughs at you. Everyone's NA Valorant, LOL, NA Valorant, LOL, LOL, LOL. It takes one tournament. Near airport. And I know for a fact, if NA doesn't win this goddamn tournament, and near airport memes are going to be in my DMs, in my Twitter, it's going to be in my social media. So I don't care about the happiness of life-changing money, or like we're going to grow South Korean Valorant. I don't care about your fucking needs, because NA needs to win this goddamn tournament for my sanity. So for the love of God, NA, please, one of you three, don't care who, please win the tournament. Please.
Tyler has PTSD from League of Legends and just can't get over it. Can't get over it.
Yes, I do.
At least CS, we had a couple of one-offs, right? A couple of wins from Liquid.
The major. The Grand Slam.
Won the major.
Yeah.
But Riot tournaments,
I get it.
Riot major tournaments just bring me down, guys. Every time. Cloud9 could beat Gen G at Worlds this year, guys. I believe it. Then they get smacked 3-0. And I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to watch Cena get blown out by Gen G. Not this year. Not this tournament. This is Valorant. We were good at anime Valorant. We're good at the anime shooter. So yes, the answer is NA. I don't care what you guys say. I don't care about your
You're right.
Your uplifting stories. NA
you
needs
just
it
got
the
me
most.
under like the nice Vansilli storyline again, where I just want everybody to have fun.
Oh boy! I wish all these guys can just make life-changing money. It'll change their lives forever. No,
everyone gather around, hold hands. We're gonna play Valorant together.
Sentinels don't need it. C9 Blue don't need it. Envy doesn't need it. I need it. For my sake.
It's all Fionn.
That's true.
All for me. All
for
for
the
me.
fan base, we all need it in NA.
Which leads us, boys, to our final question, number 10. The biggest question of all, and we'll start with you, Danny. Pick it right now, on air. We're hours away from the tournament starting. In 12, 13 days, what have you, who will be the first ever Valorant World Champions?
Well, I feel like you've kind of got a gun pointed at me, Tyler. If I don't say one of the 3 NA teams.
No. You pick anyone. Oh, Vision Strikers. Who boy?
This is hard. I'll say Gambit, just because they held it together throughout, the group stage of Berlin, and they came together when it mattered in the playoffs, and then absolutely smacked NV across the face several times to just kick them out of the event and win Berlin. So I think they've got the easiest group. I think they could just overall potentially have the easiest route to becoming champions. I'd love to see an NA team win, like you said. We haven't had that pride since Reykjavik, but I think it's going to be Gambit, unfortunately. Sorry, Tyler.
It's okay. It's okay. I like Redgar. I like them. Wholesome fella.
I am thinking of a grand finals between Envy and Liquid.
Oh, yeah.
But the more that I'm going through these thoughts and discussions, and we talk about Shazam and all this kind of stuff, I actually need to change my pick'ems once we get playoffs, because in my heart now, I think that it's going to be Sentinels that's going to regain the title. So I think they're gonna come out like hot guns blazing, man. I think they're just gonna not drop a single map and then go through everything.
Wow,
so
I feel that in my bones.
Not drop a map.
We have Gambit, we have Sentinels, and then it comes down to me. As Vansilli said, for a long time, I think for the last 2 weeks, my prediction for the final in my head has been Envy versus Team Liquid. I think Team Liquid looks amazing. I think Envy is going to look like a superior version of themselves from Berlin. Mm-hmm. But I can't explain it. I can't explain this feeling. It makes me have to say it. I've had a dream, fellas. I had a dream.
The prophecy.
I had a dream. I had a prophecy 2 nights ago. And I know. I couldn't get to sleep. I had a bit of it was 4 a.m., so I took some NyQuil, maybe a bit too much NyQuil, and got to a deep sleep. A deep, deep sleep. And in that dream, I was in Berlin. I was in the crowd by myself, just watching. It was the finals. It was the finals of Champions 2021, the big trophies in the center of the stage, and Yinsu and all of them are on the side. Sean Gares, I'm waving over to Bala and everyone. And then in the finals, it's Team Liquid and then the winner of Champions 2021. I saw it with my very own eyes in my dream. It's going to be a 3-1 Champions 2021. 3-1. I saw it. The final map is going to be Ascent.
Oh,
map 4 going to be Ascent. The final kill is going to be. It's going to be Jet on Navera. Navera will be the last one killed in the series. I saw it in my dreams, fellas. And the 2021 champions is going to be the champions of Valorant, Cloud9 Blue. Cloud9 Blue are going to win the tournament.
So Leaf is gonna pop Navera on Ascent.
Yes. Leaf 3-1, final map Ascent. I saw it in my dreams. Vandy in the middle, like hugging all 4 of his guys at once. The management running out, everyone cheering. I saw it in my dream. NyQuil, thank you very much. You brought me to this place.
You better be putting some money on Champions, Tyler.
So if this comes true, NyQuil about to get a lot of business in their inventory. But
they're gonna sponsor you.
They better fucking sponsor me if they win. But no, honestly, I actually had the dream that Cloud9 Blue is going to win Champions. So I got right with my dream. So Cloud9 Blue over Team Liquid in the finals. That's my prediction. Vansilli, you're running with Sentinels in a remix of Reykjavik where they just blast through everyone. And Danny, you're riding with the Russians. You're riding with Team Gambit to win it all. So thank you, boys, for coming onto this show. We will see. Is Danny right with his EMEA favoritism now that his Zoomer 100 Thieves are gone? Will it be Vansilli with the Church of KO with Sentinels raising above the bar and returning to glory? Or will my dumbass dream of C9 Blue beating Team Liquid come to fruition? We will see very, very soon. Champions is about to kick off in a couple hours. Please give us a like and subscribe. And for more Showstopper, catch us out next week where we're going to be talking about champions. Maybe these 2 guys will be on. See you next week, guys.
See ya.